When we're looking at setting a program, we've got to come to an understanding that we've got a finite amount of time in our week that we can dedicate to our training. We've got our active training, we've got our running and what we can do there, but also we've got the stuff that we can do outside of running that's going to benefit our performance. And because we've got a finite amount of time, we have to, in some way, bring some order to the chaos. We have to make sure that we can layer our attention effectively to put the most amount of time into the things that are most important. So one of the things that I always like to do is show people something like this. So our first layer of priority, or our first base that we need to work on, is our habit forming. So being consistent and making sure that we've got this solid structure to be able to build on performance. The thing that should take most of our time is our aerobic base. So this could be, if we're a beginner, anything of 1 to 3 hours a week of running comfortably. Doesn't have to all be in one go, but it could be split over several sessions. If we're an intermediate runner, that could be between 3 and 6 hours a week of trying to run comfortably with no pain or discomfort. And if we're looking now at becoming an advanced or top performing athlete, 6 to 10 hours is probably where we want to be looking. Following that is our anaerobic base. We actually have to be surprisingly adaptable as ultra running athletes. We spend a lot of time, and a lot of people spend time here building their aerobic base. But this anaerobic performance can drastically affect how we perform in this aerobic zone too. So we're going to have in our training program, and we'll discuss it in detail, how we can improve both of these things. But this should take quite a lot of our time and attention. A lot of runners don't. They have this higher up the chain. This will bring immediate results if we work on our anaerobic performance. Fueling and hydration. So what do we fuel on? When do we fuel? What do we drink? How do we drink it? And that comes with trial and error in training. You should never race with new nutrition. You should never race drinking less or more than what you do in your training. So getting this right is key to making sure that we perform well on the day, which is what all the training's about. When we enter races and do them, we want to make sure that we're performing at the top of our ability. So once we've got our aerobic base built, once we've got our anaerobic work being built upon, fueling and hydration will help these two things. Next on there, strength work and injury prevention. These things over time will put stress on our body. This is going to make sure that we can keep performing week in, week out with some level of consistency. Strength work as well can drastically improve performance. If we're working on becoming stronger, we can make sure that this aerobic and anaerobic performance is better. We shouldn't be worried about gaining lots of muscle and gaining size. Chances are, if we're ultra running a lot, we're going to be in a calorie deficit most of our time. You're never going to put on massive amounts of muscle, but what we can do is make that muscle useful. And if it's useful and productive, our body composition is going to be better, and these two things are going to perform better. Event-specific research. Now this actually gets quite a lot of time from a lot of people as they get nervous or they're booked onto an event. In my eyes, it should come close to an event, or initially when you book, there's obviously some going on. Kit is going to be more important dependent on the race that you're doing. When you look at like the multi-stage races that we organise, or the spine race, kit is vital. It could mean success or failure. However, in terms of total time it should take, it should sit relatively high up your pyramid of time, because either you can do it in and out of your training, or you can do it in little small doses at times of over a year if need be, if you're signing out a year in advance. But also when we're looking at event preparation, it could be, getting to the event on time, parking, accommodation before if you've got to sort that. All of that stuff should be here. And finally, supplementation. So once we've got all of these things built in, we're being consistent with our habits, our aerobic base is working, and we can run the amount of time we need to. We're performing anaerobically better. We're pushing there. We've got our fueling strategy, our hydration and nutrition right. We've got our strength work, injury prevention nailed and dialed in to make sure that we're not carrying any niggles or injury. We've then got our event training, our event specific research, and then finally supplementation. This should take a very small amount of our time. But supplementation for runners, there's mixed research, but what we do know, we know a lot about caffeine. We know that that makes us perform better, and there's a lot of research on that. We also know that on events like the Beyond the Ultimate series or any kind of self-sufficient race, our nutrition is not going to be anywhere near what it would be in our training. So taking little simple things like multivitamins or having a protein supplement to make sure that our protein's high enough for our recovery is going to be key. But when we look at this on the whole, this should be how our time looks. Focusing on these important things at the bottom and then bringing these in once these foundations are built.